is about to end, one podcast will tell you how it happens before it does.
This is the American Forked Podcast. American Forked is a podcast by lifetime friends who grew up together, many of which grew up in the Mormon Church or Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, passing sacrament together, and then walking home together and throwing snowballs at cars on the way home. We've grown up to have wildly different opinions and views and life outlooks, and but we're still friends. And so we think that's important for a world that has different opinions and seems to hate each other, or rather, it seems like people want people to hate each other if you have a different opinion. But we're still cool.
Yeah, we want to show people an example of not ostracizing people for having different views.
Yeah. We think so. Right, Jeff?
That's right.
See? That's what I always say.
I mean, I don't agree with what you're saying.
All the time, at least 3 times a week.
I don't agree. I don't agree with your intro at all, but I do hear what you're saying, and I received it well.
I respect your decision to feel that way.
Yeah, see?
This is what my intro would have sounded like. A bunch of lifetime friends that actually hate each other but pretend like we get along still.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one,
That's
too.
fair. That
Okay,
works.
cool.
We do hate and love each other.
I would say we love each other still, somehow, some way.
Yeah, we do. So anyway, that's who we are. Welcome. Before we get started, Jake's going to tell you a little bit about how to click on us and give us money.
Let me tell you how to click on us, guys. Obviously, we have our website at AmericanForked.com. We know that we have some people who listen on that website and not on whatever podcatcher they may prefer to use, but we're also available on all the major podcast networks.
Yep. Shout out to Mike, our number one listener, directly from
Mike,
the website.
yeah.
I think.
Yep,
Yep.
he's the one.
I'm going to plug in.
Mike from New Jersey or something?
No, that's a different
That's
one.
a different guy.
It's a different guy.
No, this is just Mike from. He lives in Salt Lake now.
Oh,
Good
what's
guy.
up, Mike?
Good guy.
Here, Mike. Obviously, we're on the socials, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at American Forked. Our voicemail line is 385-DAD-0-MUG.
That's right.
And speaking of which, we got a voicemail from Jimmy from across by the other pond on the East Coast. Jimmy from Brooklyn.
Yeah. Jimmy wants to know, Phil, when are you going to release a soundtrack?
A soundtrack of music, of the American Forked music.
Yeah, he's really wanting the soundtrack.
It'd be a lot of fun, huh?
It'd actually be a lot of music, too.
You know what? You know, an idea I was kicking around is like we could make some kind of thing where like if people donate to Patreon, we could like make our closing music like about them.
Oh, that would be great.
Like that'd be fun.
Mention
right?
their names.
Let's do
Yeah.
that.
We'll do it.
Maybe we'll think about it a little how that would actually work and how much
Yeah.
money you'd have to give. But
Yeah.
$100 a month, and we'll write a song all about you. Or one time of 1,000. Yeah, so Phil produces all of the bumper music that you hear, so it's all totally unique and usually relates to the content of the show.
Yep.
yeah, sometimes.
But I'm pretty excited. We have listeners all the way across the country now into New York. That's
Yeah,
great.
Brooklyn.
So, an American Fork duo are advancing on the Fox show Lego Masters.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Spoiler
Yeah.
alert, because I just started watching this. So, and never mind.
Season-
Just tell us the story.
Is it-
Contestant
season
Jen
3?
Smart and Susan Earls, both of American Fork, appear on season 2 of Lego Masters.
Are they
on
two like
Fox.
blonde ladies older than us?
Two blonde ladies? They are a little bit older than
Okay.
somebody. I'm not going to say how old we are.
Well,
but-
we're 14. so
Yeah,
they're
you won't
older
say
than
like
us.
we're 37 or anything.
yeah.
So
but-
here's the thing. They in this. Do you guys watch this show?
No.
Love Lego
do.
Masters.
Hell yeah! High
Love
five,
it.
Jacob Beth. So yeah, we
Anyone born between
Lego and
the dates
Masters
where
of the
Legos are
Universe.
big should watch it.
So here's the deal. Love Lego Masters. They introduced themselves as from Salt Lake City.
Oh, really?
Yes, they cannot admit themselves. These two blonde ladies.
I said ooh, not who.
Oh,
So, according to the Daily Herald, they're both from American Fork. And maybe that's just because they're like, oh, nobody's heard of American Fork, so let's
But
just
what-
give them something.
Wouldn't they say
easy.
Provo?
Right.
Provo,
Maybe.
Utah?
The
Most
closest
people have
county
heard of
seat.
Provo, right?
Yeah.
Most people apparently, when they say Provo, they mean Utah County. Like in Utah
Yeah.
County, we call it Utah
Right.
County.
Right.
Anyone from outside of Utah will refer to Provo if they're talking to somebody in.
It's a valley thing.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
you're saying. Yeah. I used to get upset with a friend who lives in Benjamin because she used to say that she lived in Provo.
Yeah.
You guys know where Benjamin is?
Nope.
It's like
Nope.
30 minutes, 20 minutes south, I think, of Provo. That's probably fake news.
Like south of Lehigh? Or Nephi?
Yeah.
I mean?
No, it's closer than that. But anyways, point is, it's this little podunk town way out there, and I'm always like, oh, you just want to sound like you're from a big city like Provo.
Yeah.
But she basically said, yeah, no one knows where Benjamin is. So that's why she says she's from Provo.
Oh, I get it.
Anyways, these ladies are traitors because they say they're from Salt Lake.
Well, I support them. I haven't watched the show, but Jen Smart and Susan Earls, way to go. Way to represent.
So you said they're among the finalists?
I guess they're
Are
just
they
like, no, I think they're just like still
Advancing.
surviving. Like
Okay,
they've kicked like 3 people
Because
off.
I think we're in season 3
I don't know.
Right now?
I think it's 2.
so.
Is
They're
it season 2? I
so-
swear I've seen
Anyway.
2.
they're,
Anyway,
they're
but-
in season 2 right now.
Okay, cool. So I haven't missed a season.
No.
And I guess they're still going as of July 5th, which was like weeks ago, I guess.
So here's what me and my kids do. The first episode, before the end of the episode, you have to choose. No, this year we did it before the. Anyways, long story short, you have to choose a team, and that's your team. And whoever's team goes the furthest or wins. But the thing is, we have to decide before we know hardly any information about them. So you go based off of looks, basically, which is really funny. So that was a good burp. So my team,
Nice out.
I don't know if my team is still in because my team is not the American Fork ladies.
Well, that's awesome that their American Fork is representing,
Yeah,
Well-
it sure is.
kind of,
So
at least Utah.
spreading out a little bit wider, Orem Public Library
Not very far, but
is under fire by the Orem City Council, or I should say an Orem City Council member, for having a pride display.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
wait, you're gonna have to explain that. Pride in
So-
what?
A pride, like pride in homos, or not
Homo sapiens
LGBTQ.
plus.
Where's Tyler to give me all the
Acron-
acronyms?
Oh, that kind of pride. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a
yeah.
pride display apparently in the library. Some people were rather upset. I should say it was like in the children's section. So there's like children's section of books, a display of like gay
porn.
It's like
children books.
two guys holding hands, and that someone got upset about it, or
Yeah, I guess so.
I need more details. Is this like there's a rainbow colored wall and someone got upset,
I think,
or like
I think there was a table with like
was RuPaul there, like
no
performing? or-
RuPaul,
Okay.
no pride parade running down the
Okay.
middle of the library,
no G strings,
no G strings,
no pasties,
no Tim Gunn or Tim Cook.
no pasties, Tim Cook. No,
none
None
of
of
that.
that.
just some books.
None of that.
Literally some books.
Pasties.
Anyway, the Orem Public Library responded by saying, we want to be inclusive, blah, blah, blah. But they said something rather interesting. They said, by the way, we have 2 books in our library written by Adolf Hitler. And they named off some other things that were like pretty wild. But I thought that was pretty cool because it's like, if it's a library, it's supposed to have everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Like anything you can get your hands on. In the United States, at least. The idea is...
Yeah, you should have all of them. I mean, I think the city council member is kind of a douche.
Yeah.
That's my 2
He
cents.
probably went to Chick-fil-A right after that,
and donated.
and in and out to get his Christian fill.
Yeah, maybe.
I think the truth is he saw the gay stuff and he was like, "Oh no, they're gonna find out. I'm outraged at this."
I don't like this.
Oh,
thing.
maybe.
He's like a closet, LGBTQ.
Maybe.
plus.
I don't even know who he is. Maybe he's like one of your uncles or something. We should probably find out.
Yeah,
It's Orem. It's close enough to...
it could be
To
related.
home.
That's
Yeah.
true.
But anyway, so that's what's going on in Orem. Spreading a little bit wider.
Provo. No, further.
Nope, even further.
Oh my gosh.
Utah, Governor Cox, I guess, has come out and said something to the effect
He came out?
of
He came out after he saw a display in the Orem Mall.
he did not come out in that way.
Okay.
He came
Sorry,
out-
I'll let you report.
He
Sorry.
came out and said that misinformation on coronavirus is killing people or something like that.
Oh, it was Biden that said that.
No, apparently also the governor.
Did Cox say it
of-
too?
Yeah, let me pull it up so I'm
Let's pull it up.
a little more informed.
If there's one thing I know about Biden and Cox, they're just a right
Two
wing.
peas in a pod.
They're a right wing echo chamber. Just a cacophony of fake news.
Cacophony.
I don't
That's
know if
the
that
word of
word
the
was
day.
used right.
Is it a word?
Is that where someone dies and they put them in a box? You've been cacophonied. You've been cacophinated. No,
Well,
a
this is
cacophony
weird.
is like a messed up situation, I think. If Mike was here, he'd know.
Cacophony is a harsh, discordant mixture of sounds.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's really wrong.
A
then.
cacophony of deafening alarm bells.
Well, you can use cacophony in a
theoretically
way,
deafening symbiosis of.
Oh, let's look up some boxes now.
That's not a word.
Oh,
It's not
okay.
a word. I made that up.
We're gonna make our listeners fall asleep.
Oh, okay, here we go. I found it. This is from Newsweek. GOP governor, Utah governor blames right-wing media for vaccine hesitancy and says, quote, it's killing people. Utah's Republican governor Spencer Cox said Thursday he believes propaganda coming from right-wing media sources is partly to blame for vaccine hesitancy that's contributing to the spread of COVID-19. He says he thinks it's harmful.
I'm gonna interject right there and say I love reports like that because all they're claiming is that it contributes to. So they could literally talk to one guy and he'd be like, I didn't do it because Sean Hannity said don't do it. And then it'd be like, well, that contributed to it.
And then his next door neighbor was like, I didn't get it because Bill said not to get it.
And he listens to that Rushing Limbaugh.
And my niece has COVID now.
So the title and everything I thought was a little bit loaded.
Sounds misleading.
But you
to me.
guys haven't been vaccinated yet.
No,
Right.
It has nothing to do with the media
So why haven't you been vaccinated?
because of the media.
Oh.
Because Sean Hannity told me not to do it.
You know, it's funny. I do listen to Sean Hannity. I wouldn't say religiously. He flat out says, go do it. He says, consult your doctor, but go do
Yeah.
it. Like, if it can save people, go do it.
Glenn Beck does too.
Really?
He says,
And then what other right wing media is there? Rush Limbaugh died.
Rush is dead, but Buck Sexton took his
you know why he
place.
died? He didn't get vaccinated. And cancer.
Right.
So wait, why haven't you guys been vaccinated though?
I don't feel it's necessary.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the flu, so I shouldn't be worried about getting the coronas.
This is a touchy
I'm not
subject.
high risk. We talked about it a little while ago when Sid yelled at me for saying that I wasn't going to get the virus. I mean,
think
the
she yelled.
vaccine.
I think she was just like, "What's
No,
up, Jake?"
She didn't yell. But
We miss Sydney. We should get her back on here.
yeah,
I'll tell
Sydney,
you. I'll
we
tell you
love
why. Yeah, love you, Sid. I'll tell you why. Because the vaccine is also not even for sure yet. And case in point, did you pull? There's a story. Did you guys hear about this? That Major League Baseball had to cancel another game. All their players are vaccinated, but 6 of them got COVID on one team, and they had to cancel.
All of them are
a
vaccinated?
game. Of the 6 people that got COVID, they were all vaccinated.
Oh, really?
I wanted someone to pull up the. I'll try pulling it up, but like, yeah, this is a news story I heard.
I
today.
couldn't find it earlier when you mentioned it, but
Well, maybe it's fake news because that's what we do here.
yeah. So Cox is saying that he's not fond of the right wing misinformation.
Right.
And Biden, Joe Biden, the president of the United States, has more or less said
that one.
That guy. He said that social media is to blame for all these people not getting vaccinated. And they are saying that the overwhelming majority of cases and deaths that are happening are by people who are not vaccinated, which makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
If people get vaccinated, they're hopefully going to be immune from the virus, and people who don't will get it and maybe die from it. But here's my thing and my qualm with this idea that right-wing media is responsible for people not getting vaccinated. Because I would actually blame not right-wing media, but just the actual information that has always come from the government and the CDC, which is namely, one, that the overwhelming majority of people who get coronavirus have little to no symptoms. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they've said.
So most people who get it don't even have a hard time with it. Two, that once people do get it, as far as we know up to this point, they remain immune to getting it again. I mean, there have been cases, like handfuls of cases, where people get it again, but largely the people who've got it before are immune from it and may be immune for it until they die. Mm-hmm. So those two things alone, like to me, is like, okay, this to me isn't a super serious disease. It is for some people, and we know who those people are. Those people are overweight, they have diabetes, they're really old.
They're the ones that are rushing to get the vaccine, which I agree with.
So they've all got the vaccine, or I shouldn't say they've all got it, but they've had the opportunity to get it.
Yeah.
So if they have the opportunity to get the vaccine, is it the responsibility of everyone else who's very likely to not be affected by the virus to also get vaccinated? That's the question I'm posing to the American people.
It's a great question, Phil. I have the Major League Baseball story if you want to hear it.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, I don't want to change your great questioning line.
It's on the same topic.
Okay, so this is what it says. Major League Baseball had to schedule just one game on Thursday, putting the Yankees and the Red Sox in the national spotlight to start the nominal second half of the season. Then an unwelcome intruder got in the way. The coronavirus.
Oh.
This is from the New York Times, excuse me. Okay, and it says, MLB postponed the game because 3 Yankees pitchers, and it lists them all out, each of them who was vaccinated had tested positive for the coronavirus. General Manager Brian Cashman said 3 other players had tested positive through multiple rapid tests, and that the team expected those players' laboratory test results also came back positive. The Yankees have reached the 85% vaccinated rate MLB requires to operate under relaxed COVID protocols, but Cashman said that the team had experienced breakthrough cases 2 months after the outbreak of 9 cases, mostly within the coaching staff. So you have a group of people who are up to 85% vaccinated, and they're still having all these outbreaks of coronavirus. Now, this goes to that point that would piss off a whole bunch of people that aren't here. I'll bet you most of the reason why they keep catching viruses within the MLB is because they're testing them very regularly. And they don't realize that coronavirus is around all the time, like the flu is. So the more often you test, the more often you're going to find it.
So one interesting thing I read this week, and I don't have the article to back it up right now, but if you're a listener, you can Google this. Apparently, the common cold can provide immunity to the coronavirus, COVID-19. There's some evidence that, like, if you get a cold, shortly before you're exposed to coronavirus, that it can actually provide immunity. I thought that was really interesting, because that could mean, in theory, that because we all stayed home and didn't touch each other, that we didn't spread around the colds we needed to fight coronavirus.
So the cold virus kills the coronavirus.
No,
they need to have like a...
I think the cold virus is a coronavirus, and that's why when you get one, you
have the antibodies.
Have some antibodies. You'll have to look up the study. I don't know the actual details.
Yeah, the onus is on you, listeners.
Yeah.
You prove us wrong.
Yeah, we can say whatever we want.
Brought to you by Dr. Phil. Not that one, the unfamous one.
Yeah. No, but one other quick coronavirus thing I thought was cool was on the 2nd of July of this year. I don't know how this wasn't newsworthy at all. There were 0 deaths from coronavirus in the country of the United States of America, which I thought was pretty cool.
That is good.
And since then, deaths have been hovering anywhere between, I'd say, 150 to about, actually, most recently, about 428 deaths in a single day. So it's actually fluctuated quite a bit. I think the average for the average flu deaths before the pandemic were about 150 a day. That was the average amount of people that died from the flu per day. So I think we're actually getting pretty close to as much death as before, where we were literally unconcerned about it. Like we were, I think it's safe to say that the country is totally cool with a disease killing 150 people a day.
Yeah, don't pull a Biden on us.
Or Hitler.
Or a Hitler. So isn't that like a reasonable thing to say?
There's a level that it's acceptable.
Yeah.
Because there's still a certain amount of deaths of telephone poles falling on people, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's acceptable. If it was hundreds of thousands, that's probably, we might need to rethink our telephone poles infrastructure, but 10 a year is probably fine.
Yeah. And I'm not saying the flu is the gold standard of deaths. Like that's acceptable, but
What is the gold standard?
I'm just pointing
of
out
deaths?
that we've
Lightning, I think usually is what they...
Sharks.
Yeah, sharks
And lightning. That's a gold standard.
But I'm just pointing out that we did virtually nothing as a society for the flu, other than flu season would come. They'd be like, "It's flu season. Wash your hands. Get the flu vaccine." But we didn't make any policy changes like limiting people in buildings or forcing people to wear masks or anything like that. So seems reasonable to me that if we're getting down toward that number, that coronavirus is over.
Yeah, I think we're to the point to where we were when we were climbing when we shut the country down in March last year.
Yeah.
We're now declined back to that point.
Right.
So a lot of people are concerned with the new variant.
Oh, the variant.
The variant that a lot of people are getting the virus more and need to vaccinate.
I found a very startling statistic. This statistic is from the New England Journal of Medicine that about 20,000 people a year die from this activity. And I'm just going to start a campaign anti this activity because it's exercise. 20,000 people die every year. So I'm just going to go out there and say not a good thing.
Exercise.
So 20,000 divided by 364 is nearly 55 people a day.
That's a lot of people. I wonder if that's...
Wait, they die of exercising?
Overexertion, yeah. 55 lives lost on our watch
every day
because of exercise. We need to stop this. That's 20,000 people that could be alive today.
What can
every
you do?
single year.
Social,
stop exercising.
Social drinking?
I wonder how many of them...
Social movie watching?
There's a lot of people that die from drinking.
I wonder how many of them... You ever watch on YouTube bodybuilding fails or whatever, where these guys are trying to lift weight that's way too heavy?
I don't watch those ones.
And they drop a weight
turn them off
and
as
it
soon
breaks
as I
their
know
leg
what's gonna happen.
backwards or things like that. They're hilarious.
There's one time in high school I saw a kickboxing video where the guy's legs snapped. And it was game over. That was the most traumatic looking thing. I do not like bones breaking on videos. No, thank you.
They're really funny though. Apparently there's this thing too where guys inject their arms and stuff with some kind of oil to make them bigger. And it's disgusting to look at. It's people are so lumpy and gross and it looks like they're probably about to die. But their muscles look bigger.
Okay, and I'm not joking.
Swole.
This
They're
is
swole.
Yeah.
I pulled this up on this website to get that number about people exercising, and that's a joke, obviously.
Yeah.
But
that's real.
It's really on a website, so it's on Ranker.com.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, yeah. Ranker. Yeah. It's usually
So
that's
it's
a
true. You
Yeah.
guys.
reliable source.
But here's the thing. This is a very real situation that is messed up, that like we don't deal with at all. So from not eating, guess how many people die every day from not eating?
From starvation?
In the
From
United
starvation.
States?
No, in the world.
100,000.
21,000 people per day.
Wow.
Like, talk about a
crazy.
pandemic, right? Can we put this money towards feeding everybody and
That's
not
crazy.
exercising? Like, let's close all the gyms and let's feed everyone.
So
Yeah.
instead of making masks, let's make tortillas. Ship them around the world.
That's a good T-shirt. Make tortillas, not masks.
Isn't it interesting to think about like how much food you consume every day and like how much you really need and like how much of that you could like scoop into some kind of bin that gets shipped over to Somalia or wherever
Yeah.
they're having trouble.
Wait, I just rethought my plan because I read another statistic. Diabetes, 3.4 million people die every year. So not exercising and eating more food probably leads to diabetes. So never mind.
Yeah.
I guess my point is you're going to die.
Yeah.
Diabetes.
We are all going to die. Is that
Well, when COVID was a big thing, you know, after we shut everything down, COVID was actually the biggest contributor to heart disease and all the other ones going down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. People died of heart disease a lot less and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We should
Interesting.
shut down all the time.
Yeah. Thanks, government, for just telling everyone to stay home, lose their jobs, grow inflation, and
And giving people free money.
give people free money, which segues perfectly into our topic of the evening.
Well, I want to take a pause really quick and interrupt you really rudely because I think when it comes to feeding the world, that statistic has really hit me. But I think that we should probably start a fund for Peak Refuel to send around to the whole world so everybody can eat. So Peak Refuel, is it in you? Wait, that's another slogan.
Yeah, and if you don't know what we're talking about, because you missed a couple podcasts ago, we went backpacking and tried this new brand, or at least new to us, called Peak Refuel, freeze-dried meals that you cook in a bag while you're backpacking, and they're right here in American Fork, right?
Yep.
And they're awesome. They're like the best freeze-dried meal you've ever had, and actually a pretty decent meal in general.
Period.
Yeah.
Like
So-
we're backpacking and we're passing these bags around of freeze dried food because we're like, oh my gosh, did you try this? This just tastes like regular awesome food.
Yeah.
And Jake has probably 9,000 slogans on his phone and he just pulled it out. So why don't you give us one of those, Jake?
Peak Refuel. Should I be tipping for this meal?
Okay, just stop. That one was really good. That's all we needed for tonight. We'll save the rest for other episodes because that one's really good.
I like it. I like it.
And yes, you should be tipping. I love
So-
Peak. Sorry, I just had to interject
No,
there.
it's actually perfect because so my topic of the evening is about the collapse of society, which some freeze-dried meals in your food storage would be quite handy if that were to happen.
Food
So-
storage, Phil. What is that?
So if you are unfamiliar with
What do you mean? What is that? It's two words: storing food. It's not an uncommon like phrase. You didn't say
I mean, most
what's
people-
zaggly zoop, Phil.
so
I think most people in the world probably don't consider food storage.
yeah, I think that's pretty true actually. In Utah though, it has a whole different meaning.
Well, okay.
And that's because largely, I think, because the LDS Church a while back said everybody store a bunch of food, and everybody thought it was because the world was going to end. But
So we can go into it for Jimmy in Brooklyn because he doesn't know what food
Right.
storage is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I am convinced.
so there you go. But anyway, in Utah, a lot of people store a lot of food. A lot of people actually build a underground or an extension to their basement, I guess, and call it a cold storage room. That's pretty common here, but maybe not.
With shelves of cans and
yeah.
dried
And I'm
milk.
not saying other places and people don't do that. I just think it's incredibly common here. Like,
Right.
I'd be surprised if 1 out of 5 houses didn't have a dedicated food storage room in their home.
Yeah. If you buy a house, it's very common to go down to the basement in some cold storage area
Yeah.
and see perfectly designated shelves that you can place cans on that fit exactly the right size of cans, and sometimes you can store them on the side and they can roll. And anyways, pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, but anyway, food storage would be handy, right? If society collapsed. But
Zombies.
So my question to you guys is: have you seen anything happening in the world, in our society, that makes you think that a collapse, a serious collapse, economically, socially, it isn't in the works or could be coming up?
Yeah, every time we get a Democrat president. What? What's up?
Every time there's a Democrat for president.
I'll
So
give
the
you-
Democrats are going to collapse the society.
I'm partially kidding.
But the partially
I mean, like, they say that Obama and Biden are the best gun salesmen because when they became president, there was a shortage of ammunition and firearms because everyone got scared. Traditionally, a lot of the people on the right are the scared ones.
But why does the big pickup truck say, "I ain't scared"?
I don't know why.
Okay, they're not admitting
They're
it.
actually scared.
That's a good way to put it. Like, if someone's storing a lot of ammo and guns and things, they're afraid of something.
Well, here's the thing, though, is that through Obama, there was no collapse, and so far there's nothing with Biden. So, what specifically do you see, like within those things, that make you think that there's a collapse coming? Like, what was there with Obama?
Yeah, I think historically, one of the major things is prices of stuff just goes up. Gas prices skyrocket. The price to the cost of building a house goes up and things like that. Those are things that scare people. Like, they're going to think, oh, it's going to go over the top, and inflation's going to we're going to destroy the dollar and it's going to be worthless. That's what a lot of people think.
Yeah, so and I guess you're talking specifically about like the price of lumber that's gone way up, building materials in general. Gas has gone a little bit up, but it's definitely been higher than it is now.
I think during Obama was the highest I recall. It was like right near $4 in Utah, which is pretty expensive.
Yeah, some
And was that
places in
like-
Utah have been just over 4.
Was that toward the beginning of his term, maybe?
I can't remember when that was exactly, but I do remember it was some time ago.
Oh,
we
I-
haven't gotten there yet. Not
I
at this
do
point.
remember, actually. It was when I moved to Boston, which was in 2008, because I moved a big moving truck all the way across the country, and it was like $4 to fill that thing up. So,
$150 every time you fill up.
yeah.
or more.
Yep.
Jeez.
So, so we're not quite there on the gas, but some things are rising. But the reason I brought this up is because I'm hearing in the news, and I actually haven't checked my account to see if this has happened, but apparently people are getting money in their bank account for child tax credits.
Yeah.
Is that right? Have you guys got that yet? Or,
No.
Or not got it?
We have
It's
not.
like the checks in the mail kind of thing, I think. I haven't gotten
Yeah, I think
it.
they're doing deposit for people who have had their bank accounts for the previous checks or stimulus money, and they're sending out debit cards to everyone else. At least they did for the last pack.
And how much money is it? Do you guys know?
Yeah, it's $250 for anybody that's over 6, and if you're under 6 years old, it's $300. So
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you had
per month?
And it's every month?
Well, here's the thing. So, and I'm no CPA, but I do watch a CPA on YouTube, and he's pretty smart at this stuff. Here's how he explained it. This is a child tax credit that you get every single year on your taxes. Usually it's about $2,000, $2,500 credit just for having a kid. You deduct that from your taxes, right?
Right.
Okay, so there's that. Basically, what Biden and the team, and obviously they pushed it through and made it law, what they were able to do is turn that into a different amount, which is $3,000 and $3,600 tax credit. So they increased that credit. The second thing they did is they're basically saying, listen, you don't have to wait till tax time to get that money.
Right.
We're
Advancing
going to
it.
start giving it to you throughout the year.
Right.
Right. But that's only for this year so far. It's not going to carry on through next year unless they pass another law. Now, the child tax credit will still be there through 2022, 23. I don't know
Right.
how far that goes, but basically until they change it again. But the difference is when 2022 comes around, you're not going to be getting a check in the mail each month. You'll just,
It'll go back to normal.
At this point, but at the end of the year, instead of $2,000 from your CPA, you now can claim $3,600 or whatever. It's gone up. But my 2 cents tells me that sometime between now, like in the human infrastructure bill, they're probably going to pass something that says, no, we're making this permanent. Now anyone with kids gets a check in deposited into their account every month based off of how old their kids are, which is so close to socialism. I don't know.
So why are they?
Well, I was just about to say, is that a good thing? But then you said, answer my question.
Well, and I was just going to ask I'm trying to figure out what the difference is and why they're even doing it in the first place. Like, what's the difference? I mean, I get obviously the difference between getting money in your account every month or just getting it once a year in a lump sum, but it's the same amount of money, unless, like you've said, they've maybe raised it a little bit.
They raised it, but I think the difference is that they're going off the idea that coronavirus is so detrimental to families, and it feels
they need
they need some
kickstarting. Yeah,
they need to pump up right now.
So what's so bizarre to me is I thought very recently, within the last month or two, we were finding out that a lot of people weren't going to work because they were getting all this money from unemployment and stimulus and things like that. Like, there's tons of unfilled jobs and people are just kind of hanging out at home.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused why they would start giving more monthly money to people.
Yeah.
Because don't we
I
need
know
people
why.
to fill those jobs and generate the economy? And
Yeah, I know why.
why?
That's what you
Tell
think,
me.
Phil.
That's what you think. Because they want people to be reliant on them. They know that if they give people free money, they'll vote for them again.
And
they'll be more reliant
you're
on the
saying
government.
Left-leaning Democrats or
Well, I think
the
people
government in general?
Yeah, I think that the government believes that in general, if they give them more things, then they'll be more reliant and respectful of the government. I mean, that's kind of how it is with handouts usually.
Yeah.
The government dole. My grandpa used to always say, they're on the dole. And that was always a bad thing.
So I'm not an economist. I haven't taken a lot of economics in school, but I've taken enough to understand that typically, like, inflation happens when you inject too much money into your economy. Like, I think countries that like have collapsed, like Venezuela and places like that, that's typically what's happened. Like, things start getting really expensive, and the government prints a ton of money and gives it to everybody because they need food, and
They need to stimulate the economy.
yeah,
right?
and
That's the
they're
idea.
trying to feed people. They're like, we're the government, we take care of you. Here's more money. And what that tends to do is just cause everything to skyrocket in price because
Right.
prices are going up, but people are still getting more money. And for some reason, I don't know the specifics, but that causes the price of everything to go up until your money is just worthless, until it's like 40,000 pesos or yen or whatever to buy a loaf of bread or in theory dollars, to do anything with.
So I talked to a fairly prominent used car lot in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say because I don't want to get anyone in trouble. But I was talking to a guy that was
No,
It really was them, so that might be cut out. Anyways, I was talking to a guy that worked there. I'm like, how did the stimulus checks affect you guys? He said, we made a whole bunch of sales all at once, but as soon as we saw these sales coming in, we started moving the prices up.
Yeah.
Because if every family of, let's just say 5 or 6 people, which is very common in Utah, every family of 5 or 6 people got a stimulus check of like $7,000 or whatever it was.
Right.
To $8,000, whatever it was for 4 kids and a husband and a wife, like, yeah, things in that price range of like a used car or appliances or whatever, the market just got sucked out of all that stuff for this quote unquote free money. And so people started jacking their prices up. And I wouldn't say ridiculously, but this guy openly admitted, he's like, yeah, we turned up the price because we had cars and other lots didn't have cars. And so people were coming here and spending and they just buy real quick, and they didn't even care about the price.
Yeah.
And I had another guy tell me that my old Chevy Tahoe that I have, that I drive around still, is probably gone up in value because of this whole stimulus thing. They're like, oh, the used car market's insane right now. If you have a used car and you want to sell it, it's worth way more right now.
Which is so crazy because cars always only go down in value.
Yeah,
Right.
but they've gone like used trucks in particular have like
crazy.
doubled in value.
That
It's
is
like-
so insane.
I want to make
me.
sure, though, that there is another side to this story, and that is that the new truck market and the new car market is suffering big time because of COVID.
Yeah.
Because of these computer chips they can't get. So what's happening is there's manufacturers that have whole lots of cars, and I don't mean whole lots like there's a whole lot of them, like an actual car lot full of cars waiting on a computer chip,
Yeah.
just sitting around waiting. So there's no new trucks, and all the used trucks are getting gobbled up. That's part of the reason why prices are going up as well.
Yeah.
But the stimulus money I know doesn't help.
Well, here's an interesting analogy I thought of while you were telling that low book sales story.
This episode brought to you by
Low
Peak
book
Refuel.
Oh yeah, Peak Refuel. So imagine you have a lemonade stand. Let's just make it real simple.
I don't have to imagine.
You have a lemonade stand, but you only accept Chuck E. Cheese tokens for lemonade. So your sales are pretty slim. Because,
Seems like a pretty bad
because
business model.
somebody has to be driving by and happen to have some Chuck E. Cheese tokens, right? Okay. So imagine that American Fork mayor, whatever that guy's name is,
Frost. Brad Frost.
Brad Frost says, I want everyone to like me, so I'm going to provide lemonade. There's already this lemonade stand here. I'm sending Chuck E. Cheese tokens to every household. So as the lemonade stand owner, who's a 6-year-old girl who sells 1 or 2 lemonades a month, typically, suddenly has a line around the block to go to her lemonade stand. What is the most logical outcome?
Charge more money.
Yeah, charge more Chuck E. Cheese tokens. Like dramatically more, right? Like insanely more. Like probably the amount that everybody is getting that they wouldn't have been getting otherwise.
Yeah, I mean it's a supply and demand thing. Like it's like right now, the construction company, our prices are going up and up because we're getting so busy that we don't take any jobs on that are under X amount of dollars.
Right.
We just don't take it on. So now if someone comes up to me and says, how much is it going to cost for this? I'd say, well, it's going to cost this much, because if it costs any less, I'm not interested in doing it. And it's partially because we're so busy. And I think partially we're busy because of all this money being injected into the society.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the logical thing you do. When you get to a certain amount of busyness, you increase your prices.
Right. So I guess kind of circling back, is it a good idea? I mean, we in our conversation, we're obviously kind of coming to the conclusion that it's not a good idea to just give people money.
Yeah.
But is there another side to that argument? Like, is there a good reason to give everybody money?
I think I actually am in support of certain government programs. Social Security, I actually support.
Yeah.
I think that's a smart program. It's you shouldn't, if you're going to put a program in place where you pay people regularly, I think they need to put more money into monitoring that and making sure it's okay and being done right, and so that it doesn't get fraudulently utilized. That's my biggest thing. If it's legitimate, there are certain things like low income housing and food stamps and certain things like that are fine. They're great ideas. They're good social things. I'm okay with contributing to those things. But when they start getting abused, I do not like it. Not at all. And I know people, I've met people and I know people personally who are professionals. It's a full-time job to how to keep your benefits.
Yeah.
And they do it very well. They can run whole households off the government dole before the stimulus stuff.
So here's an interesting thing. Probably each of us, and maybe even all of our listeners, probably know somebody who stayed on unemployment maybe longer than normal during this past year. Maybe also know somebody who had a job and then actually quit to go back on unemployment or to go on unemployment because
Well,
it paid more money than their
Let's be
their
clear.
job.
You can't quit and get onto unemployment. You have to get fired
you have to
or
get
let
fired,
go.
right?
Yeah.
But people get fired in an interesting way that probably is the equivalent of quitting.
you can walk into your boss's office and tell him that you're sick for the next week. And
Yeah.
he'll probably, no. You can't get fired. That's the thing. It's a weird thing.
You ever watch Parks and Rec with
Yeah.
John Ralphio? You remember that guy? He's like, "What's up?" He's like, he's like, how do I describe him? He's like this clubbing player, like 90s, early 2000s dude. And he gets this job, he gets hired. He totally lies on his resume. It's like an accounting firm or something. And he like walks in, insults like 5 people, and he's like walking around the cubicles. And by the time he gets around the loop, like the guy's like, "You're fired," and he's like, "Yeah, that makes sense," and just like walks right back out the door. Like
Keeps walking.
that's what I thought of. But yeah, probably everybody at least knows of somebody who's done that. Maybe everyone even knows of somebody who had a job, started working from home, and then actually took on another job and didn't quit the first one, but kept logging in and collected money from 2 jobs. Is that a
Yeah.
thing you guys have
I'm
maybe heard
sure.
of?
I don't know anyone personally that did that, but yeah.
And that's not so much a government thing as much as like now everybody's working home and there's this interesting way that people are kind of cheating the system, I guess. But
It's a lot more enabling when you're working at home.
yeah, but the real question is like all this money is rolling around without the previous like generation of like a good or service. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Right.
kind of money that's spinning around. And does that actually boost an economy or make an economy work? Can we all just trade money like and just live our lives and not actually do anything? And would that actually work? And by do anything, I mean like something that isn't directly involved with money, like make a house or file somebody's income taxes or deliver mail or like
Yeah.
stuff like
I mean,
that.
Jeff kind of hit on it. When the government gives you more money, you're going to spend that money, but it never lasts for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think that, like Jeff said, with Social Security, it's a good idea because it's based on the work that you put in throughout your years of being, of living. When the government gives you something for no reason or for not doing something, then that's when it can be a problem. And I don't think it'd last.
Yeah.
Well, it can't last because it's just money being handed out. If you handed out money to your kids all the time, would you run out of money eventually? There's got to be a number somewhere where you start running out of money and not being able to run a household.
Yeah. And also those kids should start making money somehow, right?
That's right.
Like,
Working for it.
yeah.
yeah.
Or just like, yeah.
Or produce
getting
something.
jobs. Like, why can't kids get jobs when they're
Right.
5?
They can in
They
China.
should. Yeah, they should move
They
to
do,
China.
China.
They do, except they're slaves. They don't get paid.
They get
Oh, wait,
paid.
that's
They
one of
buy
those.
them like a bowl of rice every day. I think is what they can get
that's
with
This
them.
is one of those things that just like we just started laughing because kids in
that
China are
racist?
slaves and are getting paid with rice.
Is that
We need
racist to say?
No, it's not racist. It's just really shallow of us. It's terrible. If I'm not mistaken, this is probably fake news, but that's what we do here. Is didn't China recently like basically gloat about how powerful they are and their military is the strongest in the world and blah blah blah? This is just like this week or last week, I think.
I think they said something like that. And America should watch out because they'll eat our faces off or something
With
like
chopsticks.
With
Yeah, I heard.
chopsticks.
But that to me is just as bad as the economy. So if the economy stayed super strong and whatever, but there's a second world power known as China that wants to like start picking fights with their billions of slave soldiers or whatever they're called, like that's not very good when it comes to like an apocalypse or something that's coming up that's scary.
that. Yeah.
So China war wouldn't be cool.
Yeah. China war could definitely lead to some kind of collapse, right?
Yeah. Well, but here's a question to you
in
guys.
our lifetime. Is that a code? Jake's
Maybe.
pointing to.
Nope. Just happened to be under my finger.
Well, here's a question to you. Do you think that the fact that they have billions of people in China that could fight in war, do you think that matters anymore with modern warfare?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I've wondered that. Like in modern warfare, we think we have all these gadgets and computers to fight the wars.
What do you mean we think we do? We do.
We do, but like maybe they're more vulnerable or less effective than we think they are. And just like a rough analogy is like September 11th. Like before then, we thought we were like pretty safe, right? Like people were watching out, and it turned out when that whole thing went down that our government was just like completely clueless.
9/11 was an inside job. What?
Yeah.
Was that?
But like,
Excuse me.
like when you listen to when you hear about like what the White House was doing and all those things, they just like there was this impression before that. I feel like generally that like we had everything locked down, we were safe, we were
Right.
watching the world, we were ready for anything, and that was pretty much just like everyone was like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do."
Yeah.
Like, and is that the case generally? Like, maybe we're ready for like if China was to get in a battleship and head straight for the U.S., chiming out on the radio, "We're coming straight for you to shoot you." Maybe we would be prepared for that, but I wonder about like another surprise sneak attack of any form.
Well,
like,
let's put it that always happens. Pearl Harbor.
yeah,
Surprise. What?
yeah,
9/11. Surprise. What? The weird thing about 9/11 is that there wasn't someone to just go kaboom and go get them.
yeah.
And it's weird. There hasn't been like a direct war with any one group for a long time. Like even the Cold War was, it was with one group, but it was weird, right?
So yeah, and I'm glad you steered that way a little bit because we haven't really talked about the United States leaving Afghanistan. But that's happening, I guess, in August, which is really cool and probably really crappy for Afghani people, I guess, because I guess the Taliban's just
Yeah.
moving
Will
right
it
in
will it
and-
destabilize the country? Destabilize.
Yeah,
Destabilify.
Here's my analogy on that. You have some rich, super independently wealthy uncle that comes and starts living at your house. Like that's going to be beneficial for the whole household, right?
Yeah.
As soon as that uncle leaves, it's not good because the people there aren't taking care of themselves. Now, the uncle, if he showed up and actually taught all the family members how to take care of themselves, then they could exit and they could even be better off than we were before. But the way that it's been handled, and this is through all administrations, not just Biden and whatever, through all the administrations, right and left, they're not ready for us to leave, but they're never going to be. And I don't know if there's a way that the rich uncle could actually handle the family there so that they can leave and everyone would be better off.
I'm so confused about it because we've been there 20 years. That's an entire generation. Like, if we've been occupying this country that long, how is it that we didn't set up schools to teach kids about, like, freedom of speech and stuff? Like, how isn't there a whole new generation of people over there that's just like, no, we're not going to shoot each other in the desert?
Because
Like,
they have this idea that they're the Starship Enterprise and like they're not allowed to interfere or something like that. Like, the Starship Enterprise,
yeah.
United
like
States, you mean?
you go to
Has
the
that
you go
mindset?
to the planet, they're killing each other, but you can't interfere because that's like unethical.
That's like
or
their
whatever.
path kind of thing.
Right.
And I know that's obviously a joke, but there was some of that going on. Back in the day, you used to show up and you destroy everything and kill everyone or do whatever needed, and you
you'd
put your
leave.
flag out there and you'd be like, okay, we're in charge now. Got it? Where
Yeah.
now it's like you have to interview people before you can pull your gun out on them or something like that. Rules of engagement that got really weird and not warlike. It turned into a police officer type of code of honor and conduct than a military type thing.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it started getting lost. And I hate to summarize it this simply, but if you ask me, the reason why we're in Afghanistan for 20 years is because people, individuals, corporations make billions and billions and billions of dollars off of war.
Yeah.
I know of a company that was contracted through the United States to handle all the garbage. They're basically the garbage men for the war. and it's like a $12 billion a year contract. And you know
Yeah.
what they do? They dig big holes and they burn everything.
Yeah.
That's how they handle the garbage. They literally, I know someone that was over there that, anyway, he said they would ship over new trucks to handle and collect the garbage. They wouldn't change the oil in the trucks. The trucks would blow up the engine because they never maintenance them. And they just called the military, come in. They put C4 on it so that the enemy didn't get it, and they blow the truck up. Because the next year now the budget was higher. Oh, our vehicle budget was, $720 million. So
we got to spend that money.
we got to spend that money next year and get new trucks for everyone. And then their friends that they're buying the trucks from are getting a cut. And you know what I mean? It's just this big incestuous money making machine.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we're in there for 20 years. And apparently if we leave now, they're all screwed.
And how many people, I can't remember, but the last time I looked, I want to say it was 3 to 4 million people have been killed in the, quote, war on terror, which is higher, I think, than Korea or Vietnam or any of the wars in the last century other than the world wars.
But it's probably because it's been going on for 20 years.
Well, it's been going on for 20 years, but also we kill a ton of civilians every time we drop a bomb on a terrorist, that blows up 2 city blocks or whatever.
Right. So guess how long the Korean War was?
10 minutes.
3 years.
Actually, you're wrong. The Korean War, to my understanding, is still going on.
Oh, that's true, but we okay.
But combat in Korea, maybe that's
Well,
what that means.
when you type in how long did the Korean War last into Google, it says 3 years.
Oh, Google doesn't
Yeah,
even know.
the war. I mean, the war is not going on. It's a disagreement between the two countries, but there's
I think we're still technically at war. Like we've never signed a peace treaty or whatever that typically ends a war
Well, it's because
between
North
countries.
Korea is involved.
Right.
Oh yeah,
They
that
wouldn't
makes
ever
sense.
sign anything.
Yeah.
They wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, unless it was like a contract saying that Kim Jong Un could go to a basketball game with Dennis Rodman or something.
Yeah.
I was going to say, unless it was a basketball for Dennis Rodman, he'd sign that.
Right. Yeah.
So if
With a bomb inside of it.
So if society is going to collapse, do you think North Korea or Russia or China or any of these players we typically think of as like maybe we'll go to war with, you think they're going to be big players in that, or is it going to come out of nowhere from something else? Is it going to be some terrorist cell? Is it going to be like
Something we didn't see.
some super villain in Madagascar?
The Underminer.
Yeah.
No, that
Something
nobody
like
knew
that.
about.
Like, is it likely to involve world powers as we know them, or is it going to come from somewhere we haven't thought of, or what do you think? Like, and I'm talking about like more of the war side of things, like not so much we screw everything up because we spend money in a stupid way, or
social
our
things.
social
Right.
media drives us to civil war or something. I'm talking
Right.
about like one of these days, North Korea. Kim Jong whatever gets drunk enough and lets a nuke off, and the next day 1 billion people are dead. Like,
I think that North Korea is not a major threat. That's my 2 cents, and I have nothing to back that up.
Other than the fact that they threaten all the time and never follow through.
Well, not just that. It's more of like everything they do there is a big show, and they try to make it look like their people are happy. And I've seen some videos about it in documentaries. I can't remember what, but reporters that were able to go there and how they would walk down the street and they could tell like people are walking down the street with them, but they're not really walking down the street like a normal person. It's like they're acting almost like the Truman Show.
yeah,
They put on such a big show that it tells me that they're bluffing.
yeah.
And that's my professional military analyzation of it.
Well, I think Donald Trump called that bluff, didn't he? Like, maybe for the first time in a long time. He was like
Rocket Man.
very early on in his presidency. They were trading insults, and he was like moving ships over to North
Yeah.
Korea, and he was he was going to throw down, and suddenly
Yeah.
North Korea was like, let's have a meeting. Like,
Yeah.
it was kind of bizarre, but yeah, I kind of got that impression that like they talk big, you know, they show their missiles off, but
Right.
it's largely a show. They're
And
just hanging on for dear life over there.
And I think the notch up from that is Russia. Russia's not good.
Right.
I don't think that they're doing great socially and, you know, the community, you could say. But they have a strong military. Their military
They can't
stronger.
even get Trump in office.
Yeah, they couldn't even get him in a second term.
Right. Apparently they have more computer hackers than like, you know, military. I don't know. My point is they have a similar situation to North Korea, but not quite that much. I so wish that like someone was here to argue with me about this because I actually don't know what the hell I'm talking about. This is just my own opinion for some random reason.
It's your factual opinion.
Yeah, like I wish Bolt was here to be like, actually. But then that's why, to me, the biggest threat. I mean, you look at like India; they have a military and they have billions of people too.
Yeah.
But you look at their military and you're like, really, guys, really?
Yeah.
That's cute.
You bought that aircraft carrier, but you don't have any planes to put on it, and you know, anyways, you guys are using the lower deck gym more than anything. Anyways, but there's a bunch of militaries around that are just kind of like, meh, okay, I got it. But China is a different story. They have the technology, they have the money, they have the slaves. I mean, the soldiers. They have. To me, that's where it's at as far as we're concerned. But I don't necessarily think that it would just be an attack on America, though. It would be like a Western culture thing. Like, I don't know. That seems to be.
Yeah, I mean, of all the world powers, I think China would be the biggest threat. I don't know anyone that's afraid of North Korea at all.
Not even in South Korea, coming from someone who's been there and knows.
They're not worried at all. I thought my impression was they're worried in South Korea because they're just real close to line of fire for like a lot of non-nuclear projectiles. Like if they start shooting rockets over the border,
Yeah.
it's going to hit a lot of buildings. Kind of like in Israel, like
Oh, yeah.
Palestine and Israel type situation. Like it could quickly erupt into that.
Well, it does constantly.
That's true. They do.
Palestine
have like,
is constantly launching rockets and
Is that all
Over
the Iron Dome pictures
Yeah.
that I saw?
the Iron Dome's pretty technologically amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. I saw
Shoot down
videos
missiles,
of that. I was like, holy
airborne missiles.
crap.
yeah, it's
But-
pretty wild.
In my interactions, this is not an indication of the general population even, but in my interactions with people when I spoke to them about North Korea when I was living there,
As
it
a
was
missionary.
As a missionary.
Yeah, for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yes.
Shout out.
If you want to know
What
about
up?
it, if you want to know about it, I know two gentlemen who dress very nicely who come to your house.
Oh,
In
just
my
call
interactions,
1-800-DAD-O
when
mug.
Dad Zero Mug. In my interactions with people, it was usually very hopefully optimistic. We really want unity between North and South Korea.
Yeah.
It was I never really that I recall spoke to anybody who was like scared
Yeah.
that something was going to happen.
They had trucks that said, I ain't scared.
Yeah, I ain't scared.
Yeah, they don't appear to be enemies as much as like half of them are like in kind of enslaved, like or in a big giant cult. And people are families across that border. And so it's like we really want our sister to come over here.
Yeah.
She wants to come over here, but she can't. Like people don't want to go to war with each other. It's like everyone gets along. It's really just like the governments that don't get along, the people at the top.
I would say that pretty much is for everything.
Yeah.
I would say even in the United States, every left-wing person I know, like the only time we ever get in fights is when we start bringing up subjects that on social media or with the media
Yeah.
is specifically designed to pit you against each other.
Yeah, somebody else's talking point.
Right.
Like once people start repeating someone else's thing,
Right.
like, well, this is what someone else said, and people usually internalize it. Like, well, this is my opinion, even though they may have heard it somewhere else,
Right.
and not always necessarily, but yeah, it often causes conflict because it's designed to do that because that's how money is made.
But that-
Facebook isn't making money off of like, this is how you can be better friends.
But they're not making money off Kumbaya.
Yeah.
But the point I'm bringing up is that most of my clients are pretty lefty, and some of them are actually fairly prominent left people that are like, heads of unions and in government positions, and I love them, and they love me, and we get along very well.
Yeah.
And we have tons of fun with everything because, like anything, you focus on what you get along about and what you like about each other, not the things you hate about each other. I mean, you can even look at you and your wife or your relationship with someone that you're very close with. What would happen if you focused on the things that you disagree on?
Yeah.
And you constantly talked about that? You'd hate each other, just like Jake and freaking Mike. They hate each other because they always talk about political stuff that they need to just not talk about.
Do we?
Yeah. I don't know why Mike hates you so much.
Yeah, he really does, though.
But my point is, like, there's so many things. If there's 10 subjects that you can talk to with someone, you're going to get along with 8 of them. 2 of them, you're not. So, and those 2, I'll just put money on it right now, is probably religion and politics. So maybe just set those aside and talk about the other 8 things. Next thing you know, you're going to be best friends.
Right.
But can we talk about those things just in better ways? Like, can we talk about religion and politics and just do it better?
I don't have all the answers. I just have all of them but one.
Oh.
But here's my answer to that. If you focus on the 8, you can talk about the other 2 because you care about and know enough about the person to be friends with them and get along with them that now you bring up religion and you bring up politics. And if you disagree, doesn't matter. You're like, oh, anyways, yeah, my friend, he's kind of crazy. He thinks this and this and that. But like, there's all these other reasons why I like him.
Yeah.
So,
But he cooks a mad brisket.
yeah. And then we talk about briskets all the time. And we talk about camping. We talk about our trucks and we talk about our kids. And we talk about our door. And I just saw a door.
door.
Yeah.
I
saw
love
a door.
lamp.
I love lamp.
I love desk.
And some of these things, some of these clients too, by the end of the projects or whatever that I'm working on with, I will talk about religion or politics with them.
Yeah.
And it's not weird because they're like, I love Jeff. Jeff's great. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I love Steve. Steve's wonderful. Doesn't matter what he says to me. We're friends. We're going to get along.
That was cute, Jeff. That was a cute way to put it.
I'm not done.
All right.
Just kidding.
Point
I'm
number
done.
2.
And then
No, but to wrap up this society collapsing thing, I thought this is pretty interesting. MIT predicted the collapse of today's society in 1972, and we're right on track. This is an article from interestingengineering.com.
Did it talk about Bitcoin?
But it's on a lot of other things. But they're pretty much saying that MIT's 1972 World 3 model was strikingly accurate based on modern data. And they're basically saying that if you look at all the data, that economic data that's happened over the last whatever years, it actually lines up really, really well with this prediction MIT did. That basically we're making all the wrong decisions, that we're kind of going down this path towards what they call the collapse of industrial society. So like this whole thing that, like, I don't want to say that. I mean, the simplest way to put it is like Henry Ford kind of invented this industrialized society where, like, now things are mass produced, like we have a lot more food, like all this stuff happens on a very large scale. And they're saying that could actually come to an end and or have a serious disruption. I thought it was interesting.
When? I want to know.
when are we dying?
So they said
When are the zombies
so the
coming?
prediction was sometime in the mid 21st century. Is that right? Is that this
Like
century?
2050.
Yeah. So so we're headed there.
Well, we're headed to
But
2050. no matter what.
MIT people can be dumb too. So
You knew some of them
yeah,
when you were living in
I did
in
yeah.
Boston.
And usually they're super smart.
But they did build that robot that looks like a dog and you can kick it and it won't fall over.
Yeah, they yes.
So I trust them
They
for
did.
sure.
And those things are freaking creepy.
I
Am
agree.
I right?
If I kick a dog, I want it to fall over.
You ever watch those? So I actually knew the guy back in Boston who was the owner of this company, Boston Dynamics, I think.
That's
that
a
makes
huge,
all those-
huge company.
that
yeah.
makes
Yeah,
all the,
massive technology.
makes all these robots that you see on, like, jumping upstairs and stuff. I think it was actually sold pretty recently for a few $1 billion or something, but
Do you still know?
they're pretty wild to watch. And that's a good segue to something a little more light that I have for the tail end of our podcast, which is what's his face, the owner of
You have a way with words.
the owner of Virgin Mobile. What's that guy's name?
Branson.
Richard
Cranston.
Richard Cranston.
Branson.
Richard Branson, the owner of the Virgin Empire, and his space company called Virgin Space.
Virgin something. Yeah.
Just had the first commercial space flight rather recently. I don't know if you guys have looked at this on YouTube.
No.
He went up into space.
He went up with like 6 people. There's like, you can see the cockpit. They go up there, they take their seatbelts off and start floating around. They're all laughing and so giddy because they literally just bought a ticket and went to space. And it was really interesting watching all these people jump around and thinking in my head, each one of these people had $28 million to spare and buy a ticket to outer space.
You know what I heard, though? The guy behind the camera was Elon Musk.
Oh, snap.
And they gave him a discounted ticket
because he was
filming.
He held the phone.
Yeah, he held the iPhone to take a picture.
He probably
of it.
would, too, because doesn't he like live on a cot at his factory? he's like totally saves money. So.
No. But that's
like,
cool.
How can I get a discount?
That's cool. They flew up to space and they floated around, and
He beat Jeff
awesome.
Bezos.
Yeah, like we now live in an age where you don't have to be top of the class at MIT and then be in a pool of like 1,000 people still that are considered to like go into space.
Or like the greatest Air Force pilot
You
ever.
just have to have $28 million.
You just have to have $28 million. And you can just buy a ticket
To spend a 90-minute
And in theory,
flight.
they'll get that down to like $5 million over the next 10 years or whatever. So
I can see Jeff Bezos calling Branson, being like, "Hey man, when are you going back? Are you going back? Because I'll come with you.
Do you have an extra seat?
Me and my kids want to go.
yeah, that'll be crazy.
I don't
to
think
see
we're
who
gonna-
goes to space.
I don't think we're gonna make it." Did you guys hear that Bezos? There's a petition going around that if he goes up to space, that he should just stay there.
And they had like 300 like
Last I heard, it was like 70,000 signatures, but I don't know where it went from there.
yeah.
He should just live in space.
Just
like,
stay there. Just leave him there.
yeah.
I don't know if Jeff Bezos is liked well, but I think his Amazon thing is going okay, right?
Yeah, I've never liked Amazon, but maybe he's a cool guy.
You like the electronic bay.
Yeah, I do like Electronic Bay. But anyway, thanks for listening to the American Fork podcast. Hopefully you're more prepared now for the upcoming apocalypse than you were before. Or maybe more prepared for some good living for the next 100 years. Cross your fingers. I'm hopeful that life will be good. We'll get out of this economic rut and see some good success, and the Chinese Communist Party will collapse, and Vladimir Putin will eventually not be president, I guess.
Yeah.
And North Korea will turn into South Korea, and Mexico will become the 51st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th states of the United States of America.
With an uneven flag.
That's right. So,
and then Puerto Rico will be like, "Come on,
We're in line here.
but rest
Button line.
assured, whatever happens, you heard about it first on the American Fork podcast. Good night, and God bless.
by Peak Refuel."
That's how we close now. God bless.
God bless
Sure.
this podcast.
That's fine.
right.
Yeah. And America.
Thank you.
And American Fork.
And American Fork.
In a world where money doesn't matter, 2 presidents will bankrupt this country because of a bad flu. No, it's not Reagan and Kennedy. In a world where friendships don't extend past the glowing light of a flat screen, and gratification comes from nothing more than a number indicating likes, comments, and shares, something simple rises from the confusion. A group of dudes who have been friends for over 30 years actually get together in person and talk. On the American Forked podcast, we teach you that social interaction with others is the best way to deal with conflict. Listening can go a long way, and allowing others to have their opinions is completely okay.